Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 594. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Zellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, we're covering Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. The only Mortal Kombat game to get a Mythologies, what do you call it, moniker, I think?
I think so, although there's definitely spin-offs.
Yeah. But they did not go, we didn't get the deep mythologies of the other Mortal Kombat characters. So we will talk about the game, we will share our experiences with it. Of course, we'll rank it on the list. But first, Matt, I would like to ask you, forgetting everything that you know about various characters in Mortal Kombat, if you were a ninja in the game, what color would you be?
Probably orange.
Oh, the orange ninja. Who is orange, actually? Now that
I don't think there's an orange.
I don't think so either. Well, that's a trick question, Matt, because they're not ninja, they are the Lin Kuei.
Perfect.
As stated by Sub-Zero in one of our first cutscenes in the game. I am not a ninja. I feel like my voice sounds more Sub-Zero-ish than his did, but we'll get to that later on. There's a lot to unpack with this game. If you've never played this game, we've got a lot to cover in this next hour. The gameplay, the story, the cutscenes, the live action, the platforming. Yes, platforming in a Mortal Kombat game. Before we dive deep into it, we talk about the game itself. Matt, when was your first Mortal Kombat game? Do you remember?
Ooh, I feel like I played some of the older ones in an arcade. I feel like I would have, I don't know which 1, 2, or 3 it would have been, but I feel like I remember touching those in an arcade. I don't think I sink some time into any of them until Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance.
That's PS2, yeah?
I believe so, yes. I never owned the game, but I feel like it was like a Blockbuster rental a couple times. I may have borrowed it, something along those lines. But yeah, arcade, I touched them. Deadly Alliance is probably the first legitimate one that I can remember playing.
I feel like arcade definitely was the first. I remember playing one at home on Genesis, so it might have been a rental maybe. It was one of those ones where, like, did you ever have those kids that were, like, a little extra sheltered in the neighborhood that, like, I don't know, they just...
I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to think of that kid, and I don't think I have one. They
weren't allowed to watch everything, you know what I mean? Like, you'd go over and want to watch Nickelodeon, and they couldn't because there was slime on TV, and their mom thought that slime was bad for them to see, or you know what I mean, like stuff like that.
It made they weren't allowed to drink Monster Energy because the mark of the devil was on the can, right?
Well, that's a whole other, but yeah, sure, right? Like that. These definitely would have been the kids that were not allowed Surge back then.
yeah.
But
all right.
My point with that is, like, at where there was a little bit more protection than maybe I had, I feel like it was weirdly like that kid's house or one of those kids' houses who had Mortal Kombat at home for Genesis with like, it's just like, the weird thing where like the parents just like didn't quite, well, the combat spelled wrong. It can't be a bad game for kids. I didn't pay attention to that whole Joe Lieberman case. I have no idea what this is. So I think I like definitely played it at a kid's house at home. And then we got, I think I rented this Mortal Kombat on N64, but I think like Ultimate 3 or one of those was like the first one I owned physically at home and had that. And yeah, like you, I remember Deadly Alliance. What was the other PS2 one? Was Deadly Alliance the one where you could Armageddon? Yeah, that was I had that one too.
Damn, I know more lore than I think over here.
Yeah, I know. That was the thing about playing this game too, where I was like, I know a lot about Mortal Kombat. Like I know some Mortal Kombat. It's all different now, but I know it. What do you remember about particularly if you can remember those first 3 games or 4 games? Like, what do you remember? What do you recall?
These games were always stiff. I played, so I probably don't play a lot of fighting games until Tekken 3, most likely, which is PlayStation 1. So, like, that game is super quick, and you're moving in a 3D environment and stuff like that. And then you play something like Mortal Kombat, it's just so stiff. And funny enough, I probably play more Batman Forever than I do Mortal Kombat back in the day. So at some point in my childhood, there's probably a timeline where I'm like, man, this feels like Batman Forever on SNES.
The crossover of the two.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was always my thing. It feels, they're stiff games. They're fun because of the fatalities, of course, and trying to figure out those and all that fun stuff. But that's what I remember just like these stiff, gory games with these weird characters and Sub-Zero and, well, more so Scorpion yelling, "Get over here."
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, I think to your point of like figuring out the fatalities and unlocking them, like, I remember the secrets of this game. This was like the epitome of like the kids in the neighborhood or at school saying like, I heard you can do this. You know what I mean? And like, we would go home and try the uppercut in the acid pit, and oh my god, it worked. You went into the acid pit. Like, that stuff we were always trying to figure those things out. And I remember just this, like, how cool it felt to play Mortal Kombat. I mean, when the first game came out in 92, you were born, right? So like, I was 3, so I wasn't playing it right away. But like, by the time 2 and 3 are out, I'm, of a game playing age, and definitely in that era of like, the 90s also were like filled with all the like gross out humor and scare your sister toys sold on TV commercials, like so many things, all of the like creepy crawlers and all that nonsense. So finding the weird stuff you could do in this game was always the hook for me. And it, again, like, it felt like I was playing something that made me cooler than I probably was. Than I definitely was and still am. The other thing I remember specifically was like hearing who you could maybe play as in the new Mortal Kombat. And like, I remember hearing you could play as Goro in 4. I was like, I gotta get 4. I didn't even like Goro. I just liked the idea of like being able to control a dude what's got 4 arms.
Right.
Seemed cool. How about characters? Did you have a favorite character back then, or like,
probably like Scorpion or Sub-Zero? I'll probably lean more towards Scorpion.
Why?
I once I figured out how to do the get over here, I just spammed the fuck out of that because I was that fighting kid. I just spammed the hell out of a move until once you figured it out, you beat me. But until you figured it out, I would win my rounds.
I think, I'm with you. I would usually go on the Sub-Zero side just because I thought ice powers were cool. I was also the kid who was drawing like my own versions of Spyro the Dragon that had ice powers. You know what I mean? So I was the ice thing was cool to me. So I definitely like Sub-Zero. So seeing a game like this come out, I was like, they made a whole game about just Sub-Zero. How cool is that?
Oh my god, can't imagine.
Looking back then, do you think playing Mortal Kombat or being exposed to it shaped your taste in gaming?
No. I never like played enough of it to like have it be a major factor in anything.
I think in the sense that, like I said before, where I thought I was cool for playing it. I think there was always a little bit of that at my age, or like when I was a kid, like I was always trying to be a little bit older than I was or whatever. So I think in that sense, it probably playing more like this opened me up to playing other things that were a little bit more mature when I was maybe younger than I should have been. But how about today? Do you still play Mortal Kombat today?
I would like to say that I keep in touch with, at least with the campaigns and play them through easy, but I have not touched Mortal Kombat 1 what, 2023, right?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I have not played that one.
Do you want to play that one?
I gotta be in the mood. I think I gotta be in the mood for it again. And really, what was the one? It wasn't X. What was it? Was it just MK11?
Yeah.
Really, MK11. The only thing I really did there, I just played the campaign. I literally set the difficulty to an easy and just played through the campaign to see the weird, dumb story. So that's probably what I'd be doing in 1 if I was to play, especially at this point.
What draws you? Is it the campaign that draws you in? Like, you don't care at all about the roster? Do you care about the guest characters? The cameos?
The guest. Yeah, with the K, right? Yeah.
I guess those are different.
I mean, I think those are cool, but there's never been like one. I've screamed from the mountaintops like, bring Michael Myers, and you'll have me there. But like, I think it's cool who they bring in. It's just not like, it's not that franchise to bring me in. Or like when I watch a character review of them, they play in a way that I wouldn't like. Yeah. So like there's that. But no, really, like the character roster is fine. I think the lore is super cool. I like the idea of this, like, there's like all these different realms competing once in however many years, Mortal Kombat, and they're always finding an excuse to keep coming back to the same cast of characters, despite them being like every 1,000 years or something stupid. Yeah, and I really liked where I never played X10. I never played X, but like I really liked the reboot of 9. I like that campaign a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of got like the recap of X to go into 11. I liked 11's campaign. I liked the whole idea of kind of like rebooting the franchise, and that's what 1 did. I just never saw
what they actually did with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I hadn't thought, like, so I guess playing Sub-Zero, Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero did not get you in the mood to play Mortal Kombat 1.
No.
No, but talking about it right now
games.
Does make me want to play it. So I might actually check to see if it's on sale when we're done when we wrap up this. Because yeah, I've not played the campaign, and I do want to play as Ghostface. I'm that guy.
Like, I think that's cool, but it's not going to give you the sink like $30 and the $5 or whatever to get him.
Yeah.
No,
I would buy like the gold edition at this point that has all the characters and the DLC and all that stuff. I'm not going to go crazy with whatever. Like,
yeah,
I hated that they put all the comic book characters in this one. I think that sucks. Like,
yeah,
I save them for Injustice 3, but of course you know my theory for that. If you don't, go check out our predictions episode for 2025, episode 591, I think. Sounds right.
Yes, it is
591. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at this game a little bit. We'll dive in. As always, we'll talk through gameplay, the visuals of the game, the sound of the game, talk about our thoughts as reviewers of the game, and we'll rank it on the list. Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero, developed by Midway with Avalanche Software, published by Midway, released on the PlayStation and in Nintendo 64, first in North America on October 1st, 1997. The back of the box reads, "Meet the root of our evil." An all-new storyline takes the Mortal Kombat myth to a new level. Heart-pounding action and hours of exploration will immerse you in Mortal Kombat as never before. Familiar MK fighting mechanics allow gamers instant playability as they encounter over 30 enemies while exploring 8 new worlds. Digitized actors are combined with fully rendered 3D sprites and intermixed with intense realism to push your system to its limits. Real-time 3D lighting effects envelop the characters with the game's fully texture-mapped 3D backgrounds. Detailed cinematic sequences and score, plus crisp, riveting sound effects, will take you into the world of Mortal Kombat Mythologies like never before. And our last little pull quote here, will you survive? I should note that all of the meet the root of our evil and will you survive are in like cool 90s blue font. Like, it's not quite like a ransom note, but it's also like not a ransom note font, you know? Yeah, man. This game. Single player. So that was a big departure as well from the Mortal Kombat experience, because usually you could play by yourself against the computers, and there's an arcade mode and whatnot. Of course, now we know the story modes in the game. But the other part was always fighting against your friends, and you were not doing that in this game. You are a Sub-Zero against the world. What's the key differentiator for you from Mortal Kombat Mythologies? What makes this game different from Mortal Kombat?
I mean, it has to be the there's like level design, and like you have to navigate a level and get from point A to point B. I think that's like the big jumping off point immediately.
The next question I have is for me, which is why did we add it to the list or the schedule for this year? And you know, Matt, I don't know the answer to this anymore. I used to know why. I will repeat myself now from what I've already have, and I will do it again, so stay tuned. But like, for me, building the list of what we play starts from me being reminded that a game exists, or discovering it for the first time, or whatever, and I just keep a short list in a note of all those games. And that list just grows and grows and grows. And usually I hit a point where I'm like, this is the game. Like, this is the game I'm going to build the whole season around, or these are the games that are going to be my like main things. And for me this year, once I hit Animal Crossing and I landed on the idea of like seasons, and I started thinking about like, well, what is the summer of video games? What's the spring of video games? And I started thinking back to the core of like, what are video games? Or I'm sorry, what are the seasons? Like, how does that break down? I start thinking like, spring is new ideas, summer is letting those ideas grow, fall is like reaping the rewards of all of that growth and whatever, and winter is more like, kind of like, I don't want to say surviving through what you've created, but in a way, right? Like, you take what you've built to keep you going and to like be able to experiment with new ideas. I was a little loose with my interpretations in my own mental, canon. But for me, like Mortal Kombat Mythologies, we are in the winter period of my schedule with this game. And it's not that like Midway is on ice or them developing the Mortal Kombat series is like whatever, but because they'd had so much success with Mortal Kombat, they got to the point where it was like, well, now we can do weird stuff. Like make a platformer where you play as Sub-Zero and you have to use Mortal Kombat moves and level him up, and it's an RPG, like, with cutscenes, and yeah. And I think it really was, I've talked about this too, but I read a bunch of old video game magazines now. That's my, like, entertainment in between things, and you go back to this era and you just see these random full page ads of Quan Chi's face, and you're like, I need some of that in my life. So yeah, I was reminded this game existed, and I was like, I want more PS1 stuff on the list, and I want the stuff that we don't typically talk about or see when you look at a list of PS1 games, which brings me to the next piece. Like, when you look back at 97, this game's released in October 97 in North America. Here's what else is released in 1997. Do you remember? Can you have a guess at some of the big ones?
97 is like Final Fantasy 7 on there?
Final Fantasy 7 is on there. So is GoldenEye 007. So is Diablo, Colony Wars, Fallout, NFL Game Day 98. And I put that out there because like that's one of the good football games, Like,
I like that one.
And think about like the physics of that, all of those things. PS1, Star Fox 64, Diddy Kong Racing. In terms of PlayStation games that are platformers, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, and Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. Like, 97 was stacked. Very stacked. And then you've got, Mortal Kombat. I'm not any shade against this, but like, when you think of 97, those are the games you think about. You don't, like, think about this one. So for me, I wanted to celebrate something weird. This is my long...
Hell, you can say Mortal Kombat. Don't think about this one.
No, right? Like it doesn't. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure we covered some of the weirder stuff. What did you know about? Or I guess before we do that, what were you playing in '97? If it wasn't, because it wasn't this, right? Did you rent this one back in the day?
No. That was my first time playing it. Now, 97. I'm probably playing like sports games, like Triple Play, Madden. Yeah, Madden, Game Day. At this point, I don't know if I'll have. I don't know if I have a PlayStation 1 yet, to be completely honest. Because I get my PlayStation, I think Final Fantasy 7 is like a greatest hits at this point, like with Final Four. I remember I bought Fighting Force and Final Fantasy 7 on the same day. I don't know what day that was, but that happened. But like I used to go over. I had neighbors that were like a third set of grandparents to me, and they had a computer and they would buy video games for me, and that's where I would play like a bunch of stuff. It's where I think I would play Doom for the first time and but they got a bunch of the EA Sports games, so like I would play like a lot of NHL, Triple Play baseball before when EA Sports had it. But like that's what I'm playing at this point. I don't remember a lot of what I'm playing besides what's on Super Nintendo, and even then I can't remember like anything standing out besides Super Mario and other stuff that came in waves.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's all like I played Crash 2 for sure. GoldenEye I was playing. I owned Colony Wars, but I never played more than the opening level because I could never figure it out. I didn't get Symphony of the Night until like a year or two later, but yeah, I mean, and then just leftovers from N64 and not leftovers, but like stuff from the years prior coming out. Older games. I'm still playing Twisted Metal 1 and 2 probably, and or 2 might have been 98. Now I can't remember. I don't know. Either way, but I'm playing those, right? Like stuff's out there. Need for Speed. But yeah. And I was playing Mortal Kombat games, just not this one. So what did you know about this game before we played it? When I added this to the list, what are your memories of it?
I know it's infamous and it's a platformer. That was kind of obviously with Sub-Zero. Like I did not know much, really.
And now you know everything. Do you know too much?
I don't know everything. I know that for a fact.
So the story in this one, just to set up, I guess, like the main hook. Well, Sub-Zero needs to go. I guess he's collecting icons of the four elements. Eventually, to stop Shinnok is I guess, the briefest way to summarize it. How would you summarize it? What am I missing?
He was sent out to collect those artifacts for his tribe or gang.
For the Lin Kuei.
Those are,
yeah,
the Lin Kuei. But then there's the turn, and then that's when he has to go out for Shinnok.
So that's the basic premise.
It's pretty much like it's an origin story kind of to Sub-Zero in a way, and yeah, it's him serving out his duties for the Lin Kuei. But Quan Chi is hither and in the background, and
always. If
you know Quan Chi in the Mortal Kombat lore, he's up to no good at all times.
Always. I think we should say up front. Well, I don't. Maybe I speak. I don't want to speak for you. I don't think either of us very much liked this game.
Oh no, so it's not good.
So that kind of makes it hard to fully dive into it. What's the first thing you notice when you fire it up? You get started. Like, what do you feel? What do you experience? What's the game for you?
I think I said this. I can't remember if I texted you this or we were on a call or playing something together when I said, "Holy shit! There's a Batman Forever clone that's worse than Batman Forever."
Oh, that's right, because I told you after I started it, it's worse than Batman Forever, and you didn't believe me.
Yeah, right.
And then, no, it was a text, and you said, like, F you, I can't believe you were right, or something. Like, yeah. I told you. It's rough, man. And, like, when I picked it up, because I just picked it up, like, around the, I don't know, end of the year last year, and I sent a picture of it in a group chat. Our friend Ben was like, oh, man, the traps in that game are just, and I was like, what trap? Like, I didn't know what he was talking about. And then you take 3 steps forward in the game and boom, there's a lot of that. But the traps, like, I'm not going to say they stop or they disappear, but they, like, they're not as, for me, the platforming becomes the problem, right? It's not it's not even the surprises along the way. It's the jumping, it's the wind, it's those things that start to just, like, get in the way of what you're able to, or how much you're able to enjoy the game, I suppose. For controls, because I feel like that's kind of a part that sucks. What do you think?
Like, so I think I think the main problem with this game is they pretty much put, like, what is close to, like, the Mortal Kombat engine in a platformer, and it doesn't feel good. I think, like, right. That's it, right? Like, that's his main problem. So, like, the controls it's Mortal Kombat controls, but they map some stuff to the shoulder buttons to allow you to sprint and like, use power-ups and get to the menus and stuff like that. It just it really feels like they, like, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, they just put, like, the Mortal Kombat into a platformer that then those two games have no business being without some, like, good refinement. Like you see in Shaolin Monks, like, that is, like, an action game. It's essentially like a God of War.
Yeah, classic I was God just of War. Talking with our friend Mark about the Castlevania games, because he's played way through the Game Boy Advancements through the Advance Collection, and he said that he tried Dracula X, the SNES game that's on the collection, and was like, I can't do this. And I was talking about, like, the intentionality of the platforming in those games, and, like, how you have to commit to the jumps, and, like, how deliberate it is to be a platformer in that game, where the Metroidvania style games post Symphony of the Night, they're just so forgiving. You just kind of run around, you jump, you do whatever. Like, it's not, you're not required to, like, they kind of refine the jumping so that, like, it's an afterthought, but they did it in such a way where, like, it just kind of works. And, like, in this case, they really just said, we've got this basic movement and fighting system. Let's just lift it out of the game and put it on top of some stages. You mentioned the trigger buttons. How long did it take you to realize you could turn left?
So after the immediate deaths upon the first enemy on screen, practically, I started this cool thing of, let's just jump over everyone and run for the goal, run for the goalpost. And when I think I encountered a trap, so I was, like, timing my crossing, and then someone was starting to beat me from behind, and then that's when I started mashing buttons.
Yeah, that I definitely hit it by accident the first time. I did not intend to spin around. Then after I realized that, I opened up the actual manual and did some reading, so that helped me along the way. But it makes it really difficult to, like, control Sub-Zero and feel good about moving him through the game. Like, it just, I don't think it ever feels good. I think you get used to it and you start to learn the nuances of like when to jump. But it also like for me, I forget the note that I wrote down, but something to the effect of there's a lot of weird platforming that you can't trust yourself to execute properly, and every step feels like it's the end, and it often is. Like you just kind of always, I don't know, like that wind section is the first section where I think like because the opening bit in the temple itself, you are you're not platforming necessarily. You're just like running and moving through that. It's pretty flat. Like there's a couple of jumps, but it's nothing crazy. The wind section, you are jumping and you need to do specific like ledge grabs and hangs, and you have to jump into wind tunnels and ride them up and time those things out. And then you're jumping on little moving sections. Like all of that is very deliberate. I think Earth is after wind, and like Earth, there's a bit more. You're still a bit more grounded, but now you're doing weird stuff to pass through the ground. It's just it never.
And then like the other thing is, as you like continue to play through the game, it does I'm gonna shout out another classic here, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, where
just busting out the hit.
Yeah, like by the end of that game's a maze, and not a good way. And this game does the same thing. It's like you're forced to go back and forth. Unless you know even if you know what you're doing, you're going back and forth because there is some backtracking, especially not the last level, but one of the final levels when you're trying to get to Quan Chi's lair or find it. You have to get those 3 artifacts that like end up being the lasers that point to each other, then up. Like you have to place them on the elevator, so it requires some backtracking. And like the way this game plays, it just sucks in general to move around. So when you're asked to, you want to backtrack, don't you? You need to backtrack now and to fulfill your objective and do everything you're supposed to do. And
that's the thing. Like we talked about the Metroidvania style games, but like in those games, like in Hollow Knight, when you go all the way through a section, maybe Hollow Knight's not the best example of this, but like in any of those games, when you get to the end of a section and you're now asked to go backwards, you just pick something up that makes going backwards cooler, right? It's a double jump. It's a sprint. It's something.
And it sometimes it allows a shortcut too, or whatever. Like,
sure.
I'm actually oddly enough played 9. Shit, I'm playing 2 Metroidvanias right now. I didn't even realize it. But like, I like playing. It's not for the list. I ought to say like Metroid. I'm playing Metroid: Samus Returns. The 3DS.
Oh yeah.
Like, I am enjoying going. I haven't backtracked to like area 1. Like once I get into an area, I kind of keep going. But like trying to find my way around the areas, like I'm having fun because I'm getting a new power to explore, and usually the new areas are taking advantage of like your new power as like your primary ability. So like it's what should be repetitive is actually a lot of fun, and this game's just not it. Any of the new powers you're getting are based off the leveling, which is based off defeating enemies, which is not like that's not even that fun either for a Mortal Kombat game. And I think that's the real like kind of stake to the heart to this game. Like, right? Like, okay, so the movement sucks. Is the fighting good? It's not.
It's weird because it's not too far off from the fighting in a Mortal Kombat game, but it is. Like it is just enough.
It's not good. And you know what's crazy? I booted Batman Forever for 5 minutes. Like that game sucks, but like I think I enjoyed playing as Batman, like fighting bad guys than I did in this game. And I mean, for those that don't know, Batman Forever is essentially a Mortal Kombat fighting system clone with licensing bullshit that Acclaim had to deal with. But like, Batman Forever feels better. It's not good. Like that game's not good either, but
yeah,
it feels better.
I guess let's talk about the level design, because that they do some interesting things. I guess the things that this game does, I don't know about things this game does that are interesting. I do like the approach to make this an RPG, right? Like, the more enemies you defeat, the more experience Sub-Zero gains, the more powers that become available to him. You're like unlocking his ability to channel ice. That's cool. It's really cool. I do really like the elements. Like, I know when I was a kid, like the whole idea of all the earth, wind, air, and fire, all that stuff, that's super, like, check the box. Like, it all made sense. And like,
fucking
if you
Captain
put that
Planet,
in,
dude.
super, right? Like, if you put that in any story, like, it just clicked with me. And I didn't remember that about myself until playing this game, that like I was real into the elements in that sense. I don't know why or what it was. I don't know what did it. Maybe it was Captain. I feel like I didn't watch a lot of Captain Planet, enough of it, but like, I don't know, just any of those things where it was like you could channel those different things. Like, that was just cool. Like, I don't know, the lore of that or whatever. So that part, like, is neat, and the idea of like becoming one with the ice, like, I'm into all of it, right? Then and now, I'm for it. But I also never felt like, I don't know, I wasn't using all the powers as I unlocked them. Like, I was, but it was sometimes easier in your point just to jump and run over. In other cases, it was easy just to punch. I also, and I think you did the same thing, at a certain point said, no way, I'm out. And I went back to the options menu, saw that you could reduce difficulty and increase lives. Because, like, you've got that. And also, like, this game has a game over. Like, you're done. You've got to reload a save if you've got one, or start back at the beginning. Too, yeah. So, but like, that, I don't know that I'm getting the full experience of this game because I felt like I had to reduce the difficulty. I don't know if you're supposed to get more out of the other thing, but either way, like, reducing the difficulty makes it way easy to just spam and get past enemies to an extent. It's not, perfect, but I guess, yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I like the idea of the level design is cool. I like the idea of getting key. I mean, you're not too far removed from a Doom. Just you're going more so left, right, up, and down instead of like through a first person area. But like, I just hate moving Sub-Zero in the game. Like, it feels awful. And the more these levels get more complex and more platform is involved, and we mentioned the traps up top, but like, you're not just navigating against the enemies. You have to watch out for these traps, and some of them are very gimmicky.
Yeah.
And they're hard to avoid because of how awful it is to move Sub-Zero around in the environment. So, like, you're constantly battling that, along with the enemies and, and platforming and stuff like that. So, like, yes, I think it's cool. You have to get keys to unlock areas, and there's some backtracking. You have to hit these alternate paths, a la Sonic a little bit, but none of it feels good.
No, not at all.
And then that's when the frustration creeps in, right? Like, you're not having fun. You're forced to backtrack. You're dying because of it. So then you're getting your game overs, and then you're having to restart the level completely over. And just frustration just sets in a way that in this game it just continues to accumulate until the point where you're like, I'm fucking done, and you kind of move on to the next game. You hope it doesn't suck as bad. I mean, that's it. And to talk about the RPG mechanic, like, that definitely, something tells me that was their answer to seeing how easy it was to kind of run through the levels, because you definitely need those ice abilities by the time you get to like the last level.
Yes, and like, the thing that was fun about like my first attempt at this game, I had a couple of abilities unlocked before I even got the map.
I did too at one point. I got like at least the ice beam. I think I had like what the slide was the second one, right?
Slide, yeah. Because you end up like dying so much that your experience carries over through death, unless you get a full game over, and that's a different story. But as long as you stay alive, that stuff carries forward. So like, but then on easy, I'm like halfway through the wind level, and I don't have the second. You know what I mean? Because I'm like skirting by so many enemies, or like just whatever. It's a breeze, and I'm not getting the XP I need to level up. So yeah, it's a weird balance.
Yeah, it's almost. I wonder if how many special moves are there? Is there? I don't have the count in front of me. I'm trying to look it up real quick. 1, 2,
in my head, it's 6, but it might be more than that. Also, this whole game is covered in Quan Chi. Like, poor Sub-Zero, but like the disc is just a picture of Quan Chi. The back of the manual is just Quan Chi.
All right, so there's 9 powers, and then how many levels are there? 8. I think it's 8.
I think 8, because you're doing the 4, and then yes, that sounds right.
I'm seeing 8. It looks like. So I wonder if this was originally supposed to be unlocked by level, and then they're testing or whatever. Someone noticed that you can easily run by the enemies. There's no incentive to killing anyone, and they switched it on the fly. Because something about this feels like the leveling was an afterthought too.
Yeah.
Because there's no decision making, and it's not like a true RPG. You're just like leveling to level.
Oh yeah, there's nothing there. You literally like it's unceremonious too. Like the little icons that pop up for like the freezing, it just like appears at the bottom of the screen really quickly, and then you're like, "What was that blue thing? What did I do?" The first time it happens, right? And then you're like, "Oh, I see."
And then like you get the combos, right? The combos add to like your experience score, but again, like Mortal Kombat has combos, but this isn't Street Fighter. Street Fighter is the one where you juggle your enemy for about 13 hits. Mortal Kombat's not that. I think the most you get off is like 4.
If you can do some stuff, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like the point in this game is more to like execute the move to like complement your attack, not string things together necessarily. Or we're playing it wrong, and I'm fine with that too. But I think like a game like this, like where it is a bit more broad and not specific to like being a fighting game, I think it lends itself to like being able to play it a little bit differently. I don't know. Looking at this as a platformer, do you think that the levels are designed in a way to complement a platformer?
I think so. I don't hate the backtracking. I mean, tell me what you think, but I guess you already did. Like, I like the keys. I like the design. I like the kind of the different lanes and the hidden paths for extra potions and stuff like that. Like, that's there. It's just moving Sub-Zero is the issue.
Yeah, I think the like what they called it on the back of the box, like the having like fully texture map 3D elements, and like there is some like 3D rotation stuff. The one that I remember standing out that was really cool to me is there's a platforming section where there's these like pendulums that are swinging back and forth to and from the camera, and when you're jumping on it, like you see the sprite scale as it drifts off to the back, and like it's silly and like obviously it should work, but like I think when we see it in like a Sonic or another platformer of that era 2D, it kind of makes sense because it's just a sprite. Like, but this is like, you know, a rotoscoped human sprite, so I don't know, something about it just seems like extra cool.
But jumping on it and landing it because of the timing of your like not good. Again, no. I think. I like the environments in this game. I think for the most part, I guess they get samey, especially the more backtracking you do in the later levels. But you know, I don't hate the way they look aesthetically, and they mostly look different enough as you go on.
I think they do too. There's like some spots in the earth and fire sections that look similar, where like depending on what you're looking at, you could feel like, oh, I'm in the fire. Oh, I'm in the but that's not the end of the world. I think the enemies make up for it in the end and stuff like that. Speaking of the look, like, do you think the game looks good for its era?
I don't think so. I think the environments are fine, but like that scan, I don't know. I didn't. Maybe it's just because Sub-Zero plays stiff. I think his animations look stiff.
Yeah, I agree. He doesn't look like I remember him looking in the old Mortal Kombat games. you know? And like,
yeah, maybe that's it too.
I kept wondering too, like, would this have looked better as like a 3D model versus, you know, still captures of a live actor that are turned into a digitized sprite? Like, I don't know.
Like, I don't want to keep making. I feel like this is the last time I'll bring it up. Like, keep making the Batman Forever comparison, but that's on Super Nintendo and it's a sprite, and I think Batman and Robin both look better.
Fair, yeah, I think that's fair. And like, it's definitely a stylistic choice, but I think like the frame limitation of it or something. You're right. Like, he just looks slow. Like,
the animation for running is weird, and I think it's just the way his frame of animation goes against the background. Like, there's some weird stuff that is not visually appealing.
Yeah.
And like you said, it revolves around Sub-Zero. I think the designs of the level themselves are okay to good in most cases.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How about the cutscenes?
Now you're talking. Finally, let's get to the good part of this game.
The full motion video cutscene.
I fucking love this. I mean, it's the epitome of Resident Evil, or of PlayStation 1 classic acting. And I was going Resident Evil being one of my examples.
Yeah.
It's great in both a good and bad, like good and bad way. I enjoyed it. I mean, full disclosure, I end up not playing through this entire game for, I think, obvious reasons, but like, I had no problem watching most of a playthrough of this, so the payoff being the cutscenes to see how this game is acted and seeing what the hell happens, because, like, I don't know, Quan Chi's a weird character, and seeing him acted out by a human is really weird.
Very strange. It's also, did you catch any of the blooper reel stuff?
Oh, I forgot to go back and watch that. Yeah, no, but I can imagine.
Like, generally, I feel like most of the blooper reel is them all forgetting their lines, because it seems like they had to shoot this in like a day. And it's just them like super seriously just like, I am looking to the center of Earth realm. That line. Like, you know what I mean? Like, going from that like super corny, cheesy villain to just like breaking character, like that kind of humanized the rest of it for me a bit, which was nice. But yeah, it's still good.
I'm glad. I really didn't know about the cutscenes before playing this game, or until
really
kind of like the ramp up to playing this game. I found that out, but. I'm glad something like this landed here, because I had a game, and we actually have an idea for cutting room floor stuff maybe later in the year, but so I don't want to say it, but one of the maybe like my first cut, you know, had cutscenes like this in the game, and I would have been. They looked equally as cheesy to this, but I think it being Mortal Kombat and not an original IP is way better.
Yeah. I guess sound wise, the voice acting, I in terms of like sound quality, presentation, I think nothing stood out to me as like bad. I think sometimes some of the like in-game sound stuff, like while he's playing, could feel a little like muted against the music, but I don't know. It wasn't that bad. But the one thing with this is like, did you ever notice any music cues? Like, did anything stand out to you in that regard?
I mean, not in a couple levels I played.
I guess like, okay, let me ask this. Is there ever anything in Mortal Kombat music-wise generally that like stands out to you?
I guess not, because I'm having trouble thinking of something. I'm sure there's something that I'm just not thinking about on the spot.
The only thing I'm thinking of is the
all right, like the movie theme, I guess, right?
Yeah, which doesn't count, right?
Yeah.
But sound effects though, like we never get a you know, what is it? toasty from the bottom of the right corner of the screen. Like, you never get that stuff. We never get to finish him, do we?
It pops up. I don't recall it hearing it.
I don't remember. But like some of those core things that I usually associate with a Mortal Kombat game, like I don't remember getting. But outside of that, like it just nothing like stands out in terms of sound. Nothing bad, but nothing great, I guess.
I do have one comment about the acting. Before I bring up my comment, I wonder if we're on the same page. Was there favorite moment in the whole campaign? Well, I get in the cinematics.
I don't know. I was laughing. Did I write anything down? Like, there's so many little things. Like, the thing I quoted at the beginning, like, I am not a ninja. I am Lin Kuei. That, the zip line, when you, like, you climb up to it, but then it cuts to the FMV of just this little Sub-Zero, you know, like, all of that. I don't know. What are you thinking of? What's the...
I guess spoilers, if you're at all interested in playing this, the girl trying to escape Netherrealm.
Okay.
And then she's like, "Oh, this is my chance to go," and then she gets shot, and she just kind of is the worst flop attempt at a death. And Sub-Zero's like, "No," and then look, it's Quan Chi.
Well, and I think like for me, seeing that, like I feel bad for it because I know what they were working with. When you see the watch the bloopers. I know. But yeah, it's like, I don't know what else she could have done in that scenario. Yeah, there's a lot like that though, of just, I mean, that's probably the most like awkward, weird. But there's a lot of little just like...
Also, big fan of Raiden.
Raiden's great, dude. Okay. That guy is
sorry, Metal Gear Solid Forever fucked me up, and I forget which one's which. Raiden. Yeah. Okay. He is great. He's like, you just handed him the fucking keys to the cat. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here. And then Sub-Zero is like, that was my task. And he's like, yeah, they tricked you. Now go fucking fix it.
Front flip.
It's too good.
Is it though?
The acting.
I know, yeah. I guess before we get ready and rank this, in closing, did you enjoy this video game?
No. Like, I don't know. What else do you want me to say? No.
I agree. I didn't either. It's just weird being so blunt about it. But yeah, no, I didn't. I think I don't know. I don't know what I expected, Matt. I really don't.
I mean, it easily could have been better. I don't know what it feels like this was like a low budget attempt at something, and they just were like, oh, we have this engine, we can make these environments probably quickly. Here's what we threw together. I don't know where it went wrong, and I feel like there's a video out there that I probably should have watched before this episode to get some explanations or some research on it. But I just, if something feels like something went awry in development, obviously, right? This doesn't, like, no one makes this and is like, we did it, especially with the Mortal Kombat franchise, right? Like, this doesn't happen on purpose.
But it maybe, right? Like I'm trying to think, like maybe the game that was set to come out that year needed,
one of those time. Like this was supposed to be an original game. We slapped the Mortal Kombat paint on it.
Or like, hey, we're not going to hit Mortal Kombat whatever for Christmas this year, and we've got a Happy Meal deal, and the second movie's coming out. We need a game to ship. What can we do? Well, we can use the engine to quickly throw together an adventure. Like, I don't know. That probably not. I mean,
that could be. I mean, that could be right. I feel like if you're gonna do movie tie-in, you may as well just do a movie tie-in and make it like this weird adventure game where you play as the different characters at different points. And as I'm saying that, I just realized I'm just talking about a campaign for Mortal Kombat.
No, this was real. This was full plan. The making of Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero spanned about 14 months from start to finish. There's a behind-the-scenes archive from the original website. John Tobias said he was intrigued by the character's backstory and wanted to flesh it out, according to an interview in GamePro magazine number 107.
I mean, real quick on that too. Like, did they even flesh out the character? I feel like I've learned nothing new about Sub-Zero.
No, I get that it's like an origin story, but yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was an origin story. The ending of this game. There's this thing called Mortal Kombat.
I did like that though. That was really, really well done.
So on the nose.
I love the actor playing Shang Tsung. That was really good. Let me see here. The one thing that was bizarre to me was some of the reception. Like, that people liked it. And I think, like, for me, if I describe this game to you, like, if you go back and listen to me talking about it at the beginning of, like, hey, what is this game? It sounds pretty cool. And if tomorrow morning we woke up and there's a video of Ed Boon introducing MK Mythology Sub-Zero as if we've never heard it for the first time, and he's showing us this new game that's coming out in 2025, I would be like, dude, this rules. I'm ready to buy it.
Well, I think the other part of this too is 97. You're not seeing videos of this. You're not seeing the gameplay videos online. You're seeing screens in a magazine. I think that this plays to that like media type very well. Like, oh shit, that's a Sub-Zero. Oh, look at that background. Oh, that's a live action Quan Chi.
Yes, exactly. It's those things. You're looking at pictures in a magazine. You're looking at pictures in the back of the box. You're
the
not
description saying like, oh, take Sub-Zero on a platforming adventure and fight through Earth, Wind, and fire, whatever you want to your elevator pitch is. But yeah, like you can easily.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I don't know what you ended up with numbers wise, score wise on this, but we played the PS1 version of this. And I did that specifically because I wanted more PlayStation games on this list. But the N64 version was way worse. They pulled out, the controls were worse. The FMV cutscenes were ripped out.
Could also
and lower quality audio. So yeah, just not great. I like this. The quote from EGM, John Riccardi, now of 8.4. He wrote, "Do you remember the old days of the NES when some games were entirely frustrating because of their horrible control? Well, take the worst of the bunch, multiply it by 10, and you have Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. The control is really that bad." And I think it's a good summary of my feelings on this, is that like I like what this game wanted to be. I just hate playing it a lot. I think if it played better, I think if it were a little bit, more smooth, it would have been a little bit more enjoyable to play. While we pull up the list, I would ask you, when we come back in 6 months and we look back at the list and not even that, like when we're going to rank games and we pass by this as we're scrolling through the list, what are you going to remember about this game? When it comes to comparing others to it.
Oh, just I think it's going to be just the movement, like playing as Sub-Zero is going to be like the defining feature.
Yeah. I think so too. That and the cutscenes. All right. Let's rank this thing.
The viewer just got a hell of a transition there. Oh.
Congratulations.
Oh, man.
So we kind of teased it last week when we put Titanfall 2 at number 30 that we probably wouldn't be around there.
No.
But on the freecheese.com/the list, where do we put this thing? I guess, okay. Is it weird that I'm not all the way at the bottom with this?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying I think there's a debate to be had for the very bottom, but like I'm at the bottom 5.
All right.
I don't want to just miss your art. What's your art like? Where were you looking?
Wasn't. No, now that I'm looking at it, like. Also, man, we put Sunset Overdrive way too low on this list. That game's good.
Welcome to the party.
I know. I know. Sorry, Metal Gear. There's a lot.
NFL, ESPN NFL football. That's a crime. There's a few crimes. That's okay. It happens.
I know. Yeah. I feel like that one has climbed up a bit now. That's at 91 now. 91's not a bad spot to be when we've got 120, almost 3 games on the list. You know? No, I guess you're right. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, eh. But I did think, like, I was vacuuming today and thinking about this game, and I was like, do I like Blinks the Time Sweeper better than this? And I think the answer is yes. Like, I think I'd rather play. I like the idea of Mortal Kombat more than Blink. I don't even know about that, if that's true. I might like the idea of Blink's better. But, yeah.
I'm like in I did not like playing Blinks either. Another game that like I eventually just put down because I hate playing it. Didn't look at gameplay throughout. So I went back and watched some Blinks gameplay because God forbid I'm not playing that game again. I mean, I don't. Blinks seems playable to an extent. Now I didn't go as far back as to hearing or listening to us talk about it. It just seemed like way overkill for what we end up doing when we rank games. It's not like we go back and listen to all these games, right? Like, so.
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest problems was sometimes like you got stuck. You had like you couldn't get the power up you needed from enemies, and that was like an unplayable part for me. But I don't know, like I feel like playing Blinks. I feel like moving Blinks from just point A to point B was better than this, and I think just some of the mechanics just weren't good.
And it wasn't great to move Blinks, but yeah,
I still think he's a touch slow, and I got that from rewatching gameplay too. He's just a touch slow for what. Yeah. For the platformer. But like I don't know. I think most of the systems are working and don't feel like an afterthought. I think they're just not well implemented.
Yeah.
I rather encourage creativity than just what doesn't feel like this feels like an afterthought in most ways. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I have it at the very bottom. I have it in it is the new basement.
I'm good. I'm good with that. I really am. It is our new 123, the first 123 we've ever had. Congratulations to Mortal Kombat Mythologies. I don't know why I'm as high on this game as I was.
Oh, I know why this list looks weird for the viewer. There we go. Now it's the new 123. Sometimes you have to hit the refresh button, Joe, on a web page that you might just keep up for forever.
Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. That sure is a video game. Or it's not. I don't know. I am excited about next week's game, though. Very excited to talk a bit about that. What do you want to tell the kids what they're in for?
Yeah, we're playing Power Slave Exhumed.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about why that version, of course. But yeah, Power Slave Exhumed, which is the Night Dive remaster-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say remaster. Yeah. So come back and hang out with us for that one next week as we kick off February. Until then, thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. See you next week. Bye.